Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're the show that digs into compelling sources to pull out, well, the really potent insights just for you. Today, we're going into something incredibly important, I think. It's the art, really, of finishing what you start. How do we actually turn our good intentions into results? How do we break free from that frustrating loop of abandoned projects, those ideas just gathering dust? Our journey today kind of kicks off with this story from one of our authors. Years ago, he set out to carve a small wooden canoe. Simple enough, right? He told himself this is manageable. But he quickly became, and this is his phrase, a damning reminder of his laziness. He'd start, his hands would get sore, or like new movies would come out, and the canoe just sat there, unfinished. Until, and this is fascinating, he stumbled upon this surprisingly simple technique. It's called temptation bundling. Imagine combining something you have to do, maybe something you don't even like carving that canoe, with something you instantly enjoy, like listening to your favorite album, start to finish. Suddenly the grind becomes, well, almost a pleasure, just by association. It was a real turning point for him, and it's a thread we'll definitely be weaving through our deep dives today.
That's exactly right. And our mission here really is to systematically unpack what it means to follow through. What are the core components? We'll also pinpoint those subtle, often hidden reasons we all struggle sometimes to finish things. And most importantly, we want to equip you, our listener, with practical strategies, powerful mindsets, all drawn directly from these sources we've looked at. This isn't just about, understanding concepts abstractly. It's about helping you transform your aspirations into real, tangible achievements.
Okay, so let's unpack this then. What exactly does it mean to follow through? To really get a handle on it, let's consider Esther. She was stuck in, well, a dead-end job, but she had this dream, right? Starting her own home-based baking business. She even took a 2-week vacation specifically to plan it all out. Research recipes, taxes, survey friends, gauge the market, and it all started taking shape. And only in her head. Frustratingly, whatever took shape in Esther's head just stayed there. She felt paralyzed, overwhelmed by all the business stuff, the details, and also the fear of expectations. 2 weeks went by, nothing. Her dream just remained, as the source puts it, more a fantasy than a plan.
Yeah, Esther's story is a perfect illustration. Following through isn't just one thing, it's multifaceted. Think of it like one of those super robots from the old shows, formed by smaller individual robot parts fusing together. Power Rangers, Voltron, that kind of thing. Each part plays an absolutely crucial role. So first up we have the head. Focus. This is your internal GPS, basically. It keeps your head in the game, your eyes on the prize. It guides your thoughts, your actions towards that single goal. Without focus, your effort just scatters, doesn't it?
Right. Like Esther, if she'd really focused.
Exactly. Had Esther truly honed her focus, she probably would have structured her time differently. Dedicated specific hours, maybe, instead of just letting the days drift by. Then there's the spine. Self-discipline. This is your inner control, your willpower. It's what lets you work even when you really don't feel like it. It helps you control yourself despite, all the distractions and temptations. It keeps you upright so you don't slump into a mess, as one source nicely puts it. With enough self-discipline, Esther could have maybe resisted just having a leisure-only vacation. Found some balance.
Okay, head is focus, spine is discipline. What's next?
Next up, the hands and feet, action. This is, well, it's simply putting one foot in front of the other. It's translating that intention into visible, measurable progress, real-world movement. Without action, plans just stay abstract, right? Goals remain dreams. For Esther, even just taking that tiny first step, researching one recipe, maybe that would have started her journey.
Makes sense. You gotta actually do something.
Precisely. And finally, at the core of it all, the heart. Persistence. This is your tenacity, your grit. It's firmly sticking with something through obstacles over time, not giving up when things inevitably get tough. For Esther, sadly, the question of persistence didn't even really come up because, as you said, she stopped before she even began.
Wow. So, okay, focus, self-discipline, action, and persistence. It's this powerful mix that turns dreams into reality. But yeah, if it's so powerful, why don't we just do it all the time? As you might guess, it's often because, well, it's genuinely hard.
It really is. And despite our best intentions, we often fail to follow through. It's usually not about lacking ability, though. It's more often due to two main kinds of barriers. Our sources categorize them as inhibiting tactics. Those are often conscious ways we misuse time and psychological roadblocks, which are more unconscious internal barriers.
Okay, let's dig into those inhibiting tactics first. The ways we actively, sometimes without even realizing it, sabotage ourselves. One common one is setting bad goals. Goals that are just too vague, like saying, I want to be healthier. Healthier how? Or goals that are just impossible, like that plant manager aiming to double manufacturing output overnight. Sounds ambitious, but if it's totally unrealistic.
Kind of lets you off the hook, doesn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
The source points out it absolves us from the guilt of not following through because, hey, it was impossible anyway. Sneaky. Then there's good old procrastination. Probably one of the most common tactics, right? We get so good at delaying things. We can even trick ourselves into thinking we're being productive with endless planning. That productive procrastination. It feels like progress, but you're just spinning your wheel.
Moving in place. And the warning is pretty stark. A lifetime string of laters ends up being woven into the noose of never. Ouch.
Yeah, that's potent. And, oh boy, temptations and distractions. Who hasn't fallen for those? The sources describe the path like it's lined with shiny trinkets, glittering detour signs, and inviting rest stops. That red notification dot on your phone.
The dopamine hit.
Right. That marketing officer example whose hours were just riddled by Snapchat conversations, YouTube binges, and endless Instagram scrolls. We've all been there. Maybe not to that extreme, but still. The good news is we can manage these. Things like strategic avoidance. Actually logging out of social media during work blocks.
Or even healthy, moderate use. Scheduling, say, a 10-minute social media break, but only after you've finished a chunk of work, using it as a reward.
Right. And the last inhibiting tactic, poor time management. This often hides behind the excuse of, oh, I just don't have enough time.
But it's usually less about the clock and more about a lack of planning, organization, focus, maybe even that self-discipline we talked about.
Yeah, and it creates this domino effect that messes up the rest of our plans. If you can't manage the day-to-day, tackling big goals feels impossible.
Exactly. And building on those tactics, we get to the psychological roadblocks. These are more internal, often unconscious. And the first one is perhaps the simplest, but maybe the most powerful. Just plain laziness and lack of discipline. Sometimes it's just the straightforward truth. We lack the willpower and discipline within us to just start, just do, and just keep pushing. We see the effort needed, even if it's small, and we just opt out.
Yeah, the path of least resistance call.
It does. Then there's that really pervasive one, fear of judgment, rejection, and failure. Take Laura, the volunteer, with that great fundraising idea. Before making the first call, she hesitates. What if it's a flop? The fear takes over, so she drops the idea, and the source says she immediately starts breathing easier. But here's the kicker.
What's that?
By not acting, by not following through, we've essentially already judged and rejected ourselves. We failed the moment we decided not to even try. It's self-rejection disguised as self-preservation.
Wow. That's a tough pill to swallow, but true. Okay, what else?
Perfectionism born from insecurity. This one's insidious. Think of Paul spending several years upgrading his skills, getting credentials. But he never actually applied for that promotion because his credentials just didn't feel good enough. Ever.
So it looks like hard work, but it's actually stopping them.
Precisely. It's striving for perfection, ultimately leading to stagnation. It prevents the actual follow-through, the actual action. And lastly, there's lack of self-awareness, not truly knowing our own abilities, our capacities. Because we're often afraid to step outside our comfort zones, we never really learn what we're capable of. We start believing we'll never make it, even if we tried.
So you trap yourself.
You trap yourself in a lifetime of stagnation. And the real danger, the source points out, is we often don't even realize we've fallen into this trap.
Okay, looking back at Esther, you can really see how she was caught by both. The inhibiting tactics, getting overwhelmed, distracted, and the psychological roadblocks like fear. So how do we break free? How do we actually fuel our drive and keep going? Let's talk about staying hungry. What is it that really drives you to follow through? And maybe more importantly, how do you keep that motivation burning bright? Our sources share this story about Sally. She started a charity full of passion, right? But then she hit the business side, fundraising, grant writing, marketing. Stuff she maybe didn't enjoy as much. And her interest just faded. She learned, as the author puts it, you can't just count on your passion for something to lead you to follow through. Passion's a great starter, but it needs fuel.
Absolutely. Sally's story shows that motivation is this kind of balance, isn't it? It's about what our goals represent, the positive things we get, and the negative things we want to avoid. Our sources break motivation down into two main types, external motivators and internal motivators. External ones come from outside yourself, often about avoiding negative stuff like disappointing your family or getting fired, or gaining external rewards. This includes things like accountability partners or groups. Knowing you have to report back to others taps into that desire to avoid, well, shame or letting people down. The source calls it exponential shame when it's a group.
Ah, okay. Makes sense. What else?
Putting money down. You know, that expensive gym membership makes you feel guilty if you don't go, right? You're avoiding wasting money. The author even suggests giving a friend, say, $500 with strict instructions not to return it until you finish a specific task. Now, that's commitment.
Wow, yeah, that's definitely raising the stakes.
And then there's self-bribery. Basically, promising yourself a reward, like, if I save X amount of money this year, I get that dream beach vacation. Keeping that reward in mind can be really powerful.
Okay, those are external. What about internal?
Right, internal motivators. This is about what you truly want, your fundamental why. This is the carrot, not the stick. It's about asking yourself those deeper questions. What am I really getting out of this? How will my life or my family's life benefit? What impact could I have on others? What positive feelings will I get from achieving this? The more clearly you can articulate your internal reasons, the stronger your drive will be. It comes from within.
Okay, this next part I found really interesting. Let's talk about opportunity cost. The sources make it clear. Following through always means sacrifice. You're committing time, energy, resources that you could be using for something else, maybe something more fun right now.
Absolutely. It's unavoidable.
So the key, apparently, is making sure your motivation overpowers your sense of sacrifice. And there are two main ways to do that. One, make your motivation even stronger and more salient. So that dream career you want from taking that boring history class, you have to really want that career more than you want those Friday nights out right now. Keep the why front and center.
Make the benefit outweigh the cost.
Exactly. The second way is to make the sacrifices smaller. A compromise sacrifice. So maybe instead of giving up Friday nights entirely, you just schedule a different night with friends or spend a bit less time out. You negotiate with yourself.
Right. It's about consciously managing that cost-benefit analysis so the benefit feels much heavier. And critically, you have to keep that motivation present, top of mind. Research shows we're way more likely to follow through if we're regularly exposed to vivid reminders of why we're doing it.
Not just Post-it notes, right?
Right. Think beyond Post-its. There was this study by Catherine Milkman where people remembered to pick up paper clips much better if they were reminded by an unusual object, like an elephant statue, compared to just a note. 74% versus 42%.
Wow, that's a big difference.
It is. The takeaway is to use loud, vivid images. Engage multiple senses if you can. Like that example of putting a child's shampoo scent on their photo frame. Sight and smell working together.
That's clever.
And crucially, you need to move and change these cues around every few days. Otherwise, they just become background noise and you stop noticing them. Keep it fresh.
Okay, that makes sense. Keep the why visible and fresh. All right, let's shift gears now from understanding motivation to actually building an action plan. Our next segment is about creating your action blueprint. The sources suggest creating a personal manifesto, basically a set of rules. Rules that limit your vision in a good way, taking the guesswork out of our days. Think about John the writer again. Without a rule, he'd come home tired, flip on the TV, make zero progress. Easy choice. But with a clear, black and white rule, 2 chapters a night, no exceptions, no excuses, he made consistent progress. He finished the book. Rules make decisions automatic. They remove that wiggle room where we often give up.
Absolutely. Rules provide structure and remove the need for constant decision-making, which drains willpower. Our sources lay out 6 really powerful rules you can use for your own manifesto. Rule 1, evaluate yourself. This is crucial. Before you throw in the towel on something, stop and ask yourself honestly, if it wasn't for laziness or fear, would I actually be giving up right now?
So confronting the real reason.
Exactly. It forces you to face whether it's a genuine obstacle or just your own It does. Rule 4, reaffirm your intentions. When you hit a decision point, a fork in the road, pause and actively state 3 things to yourself. First, I want. Remind yourself of the end goal. Like, I want that pay raise from completing this certification program. Second, I will. State the necessary action. I will finish this module tonight. Third, I won't. Identify what to avoid. I won't let myself get distracted by social media or give in to feeling tired. This refocuses your attention immediately.
I like that. Want, will, won't. Simple.
It's very effective. Rule 5. Think in terms of 10-10-10. This is about projecting yourself into the future when you're tempted to give in or quit. Ask yourself, how will I feel about this decision 10 minutes from now, 10 hours from now, and 10 days from now?
Like skipping workout for lasagna, right?
Okay. Exactly the example used. 10 minutes after the lasagna, maybe you feel satisfied, but with a slight tinge of regret. 10 hours later, maybe more regret. But 10 days later, that fleeting pleasure is long gone, replaced by the 100% regret of breaking your commitment. Be honest with yourself. For bigger decisions, maybe even think 10 weeks out. It connects you to the real long-term
Yes,
consequences.
that's powerful. Visualizing the future regret
Mm.
or satisfaction. Okay, last rule.
Rule 6. Just 10 minutes. This one is so simple, but incredibly effective. Two parts to it. If you have an urge for something negative, like checking social media when you shouldn't, just tell yourself to wait 10 minutes. Often that immediate craving will pass. Conversely, if you feel like quitting something beneficial, like that workout or writing that chapter, push yourself to do just 10 more minutes.
Why does that work?
It takes the immediate out of immediate gratification. That 10-minute buffer breaks the impulse cycle, and doing just 10 more minutes often builds momentum. 10 minutes easily turns into 15 or 20. It builds discipline incrementally.
These rules seem really practical. Okay, so following through is definitely, as you said, profoundly mental. It takes real effort, especially when you hit those tough spots. Let's talk about mindsets now. Our sources share the story of Gerald. He had these big entrepreneurial dreams, right? But he had this negative mindset about anything uncomfortable.
Mm.
Things like investing his own money or cutting back on luxuries. They made him so uneasy that he just gave up, abandoned his business dreams entirely. He chose immediate comfort over that potentially amazing but uncertain future.
Gerald's story really highlights how crucial our underlying mindsets are. They frame everything. Our sources outline 4 critical mindsets for fostering follow-through. Mindset 1, it's worthwhile. This is about truly believing a few things. 1, that your hard work will lead to improvement. 2, having the confidence that you belong, that you're capable. And 3, seeing the genuine value and relevance of what you're doing to your larger goals.
Like students persevering because they see the classes leading to their dream job.
Exactly. That belief fuels persistence. Mindset 2, comfort with discomfort. Success almost inevitably involves things that feel supremely uncomfortable at times. Learning new skills, talking to strangers, facing rejection. You need to get okay with that feeling. Understand that discomfort is merely your fear instinct at play and does not actually hurt you. The more you embrace discomfort, the more resilient and capable you become. Try learning that new language, even if it feels awkward at first.
Lean into the discomfort, basically.
Pretty much. Mindset 3, allow learning. View everything you undertake, especially challenging things, as a quest for knowledge. Finishing something, even if it fails by some external measure, is always a win because it provides invaluable lessons. You learn what worked, what didn't. What's fascinating here, the source notes, is you only learn certain things if you see them through to the end. You can't get that full picture if you bail early. Always ask, what can I learn from this?
Failure as data collection. I like that.
And mindset 4, de-stress. This is huge. Stress absolutely tanks your willpower and self-control. There was an Australian study mentioned showing stressed students were far more likely to neglect healthy habits, poor diet, less sleep, less exercise. They just didn't have the mental resources.
Why does stress do that?
Partly it's what psychologists call negative affect. Just feeling bad makes it harder to exert control. And also projection bias. When we're stressed, we tend to assume we'll always feel distressed, making long-term goals seem impossible. So the key is building in daily stress-reducing habits. Even just 30 minutes of something relaxing, meditation, exercise, connecting with friends, even just doing nothing, which actually promotes alpha waves linked to creativity and recovery.
Okay, those mindsets are the foundation. But let's get really practical now. How do we start smashing procrastination and distractions in the moment? Remember Madeline versus Michelle with their coding projects. Madeline put it off, panicked, submitted buggy code. Michelle, anticipating challenges, broke it down, used rewards, delivered perfectly. What exactly was Michelle doing differently on a tactical level?
Well, fundamentally, Michelle understood time inconsistency. That's the core problem behind procrastination. Our present self, the one making decisions right now, wants immediate rewards, like taking a nap instead of coding. Our future self is the one who benefits from the long-term goal, like the finished project. The present self often wins that battle, prioritizing instant gratification, even if it hurts the future self. Michelle found ways to satisfy her present self while working towards the future goal.
Ah, like with temptation bundling. We talked about that earlier.
Exactly. Revisit that powerful idea.
Uh-huh.
Pair something you need to do with something you want to do simultaneously. Exercise while watching TV, do boring paperwork while listening to great music, work while soaking your feet. It makes the have-to feel more like a get-to.
Clever. What else?
Using small, easy increments. Break huge, daunting tasks into minuscule, microscopic components. So that a 100-page report doesn't feel like climbing Everest. Instead, view it as a series of paragraphs only 100 words long. Making that first step feel incredibly easy is key to overcoming inertia.
Baby steps.
Tiny baby steps. And maybe start with the easiest ones first to build that crucial momentum. Save the harder bits for when you're rolling. And sometimes you need a bit of a jolt. That's where considering risks, or what the source calls productive paranoia, comes in. Apparently, highly successful people like Bill Gates use this. You actively plan for the worst-case scenario. By vividly imagining the negative consequences of not acting or delaying, you spur yourself into intense action to avoid those outcomes. Fear can be a motivator, used carefully.
Using fear productively.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, what about the environment?
Huge factor. Minimizing distractions. There was that Cornell study with Hershey's Kisses. When they were in clear jars right on the desk, people ate way more than when they were in opaque jars, or even just 6 feet away.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Literally. Exactly. The principle is make temptations harder to access. Design your environment, a clean desk, phone notifications off, maybe even apps hidden to make unwanted actions require more effort.
Which ties into the next point, right? Defaulting to positive actions.
Precisely. Remember the organ donor study? Huge differences in donation rates between countries where you had to opt in versus countries where the default was donating and you had to opt out. People stick with the default. So apply that to your life. Make the positive choices the path of least resistance. Move social media apps off your home screen. Place your phone face down. Keep floss everywhere. Put a pull-up bar in a doorway you walk through often. Make the good choice the easy choice.
That's smart. Designing your life for success. Okay, keep going.
Right. Then there's attention residue. This comes from research by Sophie Leroy. When you switch tasks, even quickly, part of your attention or residue stays stuck on the previous task. This hinders your performance on the new task. Multitasking, even sequential task switching, makes you less effective overall. Clifford Nass's research showed heavy multitaskers were actually worse at filtering irrelevant information.
So the solution is?
Single tasking. Give one task your singular focus. Shut off notifications. Close irrelevant browser tabs. Allow your mind to fully engage. You'll actually get more done faster and better.
Makes sense. Less mental clutter.
Exactly. And to streamline further, use batching. This is inspired by Henry Ford's assembly line. Group similar tasks together. Instead of checking email constantly throughout the day, batch it. Check only, say, at the top of every 2 hours. Batch meetings together. Batch phone calls. You can even batch your distractions, allow yourself a specific limited window for social media, then shut it down. It saves the mental cost of constant switching.
Batching, I like that. Okay, almost there on the strategy.
Nearly. Don't forget the don't-do list. Just as important as your to-do list. What should you actively ignore? 3 things mainly. 1, tasks waiting on others. You can't control those, so don't let them clog your mental space. 2, busy work that doesn't add value. The example given is spending hours choosing the paint color for a bike shed in the parking lot of the nuclear power plant. Focus on what matters. 3, tasks with diminishing returns. Sometimes 80% quality is good enough. Our sources argue it's far more helpful to have 3 tasks completed at 80% quality versus 1 task at 100%, especially if that last 20% takes forever.
Knowing when good enough is actually good enough.
Yeah.
That's hard sometimes.
It is. And finally, a great rule of thumb for decision-making. The 40-70 rule. This comes from Colin Powell. When facing a decision, aim to have gathered no less than 40% and no more than 70% of the information, experience, or confidence you ideally need.
Why that range?
Less than 40% and you're shooting from the hip, likely making mistakes. But wait for more than 70%. You risk analysis paralysis. The opportunity might pass you by while you're still gathering data. That 40-70 sweet spot means you have enough information to make an informed gut decision and act decisively. Like opening that cocktail bar when you have 50-60% of the inventory, you go for it, trusting you can handle the rest.
Wow, okay. Those are some seriously practical tools for smashing obstacles.
Yeah.
But even with all that, we can still trip up, right? There are still deadly pitfalls.
Yeah.
Our sources tell the story of Michael. No, wait, it was Ned in this case. Hold on. Ned started his software consulting firm, and he burned out. Overwhelmed by client work, emails, total disorganization. He was trying to run on pure willpower. Why did he fail initially? He simply didn't use a system.
Right. Ned's story is a great lead-in to these pitfalls and the ultimate solution systems. Let's cover the pitfalls first, which Ned likely fell into. First is false hope syndrome. This is where you wildly overestimate how easy and fast change will be. Like Michael, who imagined getting tons of money from minimal work right away. When reality doesn't match those extreme expectations, the disappointment leads to a powerful backlash, making you less motivated than before. The key: set realistic expectations based on your history. Know thyself.
Manage your own expectations. Got it.
Then, overthinking. We touched on this. It's sneaky because it feels like action, but it leads straight to analysis paralysis. Remember Barry Schwartz's paradox of choice. Too many printer options leads to anxiety and no decision. Prioritize action. Limit your choices to what really matters. Don't get lost in the weeds of endless research when action is needed.
Done is better than perfect, sometimes.
Often, yes. Next, worry. This is different from productive planning. Worry is ruminating on real or imagined problems, usually ones outside your control. It just steals your control and composure. Worrying means you suffer twice, right? Once when you worry, and again if the bad thing actually happens. Focus instead on what you can control right here, right now, and take action on that.
Control the controllables.
Exactly. And finally, knowing thyself. This is critical and multifaceted. It means understanding your unique productivity style. When are you sharpest? What environment works best? Do you need social interaction or quiet? Ned failed initially because he imposed an unrealistic schedule on himself that didn't fit his natural rhythms. But it's also deeper than that. It's about being able to diagnose why you were failing, asking why do I specifically give up, being a Sherlock Holmes of your own follow-through issues to fix the underlying problem for you.
That self-diagnosis piece feels really key. Okay, so avoiding those pitfalls is crucial. But as Ned learned the hard way, willpower isn't always enough. The sources emphasize that relying on your willpower and self-discipline alone can fail you, especially over the long haul. This is where, as Ned eventually discovered, daily systems for success come in, creating organizational systems.
Precisely. Systems are different from goals. Goals are like destinations, one-off accomplishments. Systems are the reliable vehicle that gets you there. They are sets of actions consistently performed every day. A routine that organizes you, reducing the need to constantly fight your own inertia. So what do these daily systems look like? First, keep a scoreboard. People naturally play at their best when they feel as if they are winning or losing. Track your progress visually. A whiteboard with check marks, a progress bar in an app, whatever works for you. And importantly, celebrate small victories. Even a mental high five, or maybe a pizza party for a team milestone. It builds momentum. And always have that ultimate reward or incentive clearly defined for the finish line.
Make progress visible and celebrate it.
Nice. Then, solid time management as a system. This means setting a consistent routine, assessing your time needs, maybe even timing yourself on common tasks to get realistic estimates, and rigorously minimizing distractions within that routine, like setting specific blocks for email or networking, not letting them bleed into focused work time.
Building walls around your focus time.
Exactly. Also, lower your transaction costs. This is a term from economics, but it applies perfectly here. It means making desired behaviors convenient and easy. Simple office organization, having workout clothes laid out the night before, make the good habit effortless. Conversely, make undesirable behaviors inconvenient and unwieldy. The source gives the great example of making yourself climb 5 flights of stairs to smoke or eat chocolate or browse your phone. You make the bad habit too expensive, too much effort to engage in.
I love that. Make laziness work for you.
Right. And finally, gather all information first. Before diving into a significant project, collect everything you need up front. Your team members, necessary supplies or software, contact info, clear deadlines, and crucially, proactively identify potential obstacles. Carrie Patterson's work on crucial conversations is relevant here. Assign clear responsibilities, specify desired outcomes, identify hurdles before you start. Why? Because this removes the hurdles that halt momentum. You can just execute without constantly stopping to find something or solve a predictable problem.
Wow. Okay, that was quite the journey. An incredibly insightful deep dive. Mastering this art of following through really is, as the sources described it, that powerful combination of focus, self-discipline, action, and persistence. It feels like the engine that drives, well, everything. Higher professional achievements, sure, but also better relationships, greater personal satisfaction. It's about consistently turning those dreams, big or small, into actual reality.
Absolutely. And what's really fascinating, I think, is that knowledge like this is most valuable when it's not just understood, but actually applied.
Yeah.
We've journeyed through a ton of insights here, all designed to help you, the listener, not just absorb the information, but to genuinely act on it, to make a difference in how you approach things.
So for you, the listener, as we wrap up, we want to leave you with this final, maybe provocative thought to chew on. Imagine the gap, the space between the life you're currently living and the life you truly dream of. What single small step starting right now today could you take to begin bridging that gap? Applying just one insight maybe from our deep dive today, knowing that real change doesn't usually start with some grand declaration, but with the consistent, sometimes uncomfortable, simple act of doing.